Welcome to Legacy and Leadership with David McKean. In my 20 plus years in the business world, I have noticed a common theme amongst all my clients. They're phenomenal leaders who are concerned about leaving a legacy in three main areas: community, family, and financially. Join me as we talk to proven leaders in their field about their specific ideas behind legacy and leadership. What you don't know about me is I spent 8 years playing football growing up, and then this is the first football season and spring baseball season in 13 years that I will not be coaching my kids. That's right. And I've handed them over to the professionals, if you will. But that's what made me want to be a coach, is exactly what you're talking about, is the values and the disciplines and the life lessons that were instilled in me as a young teenage boy. So when was a time perhaps as a coach where you felt like the crowd, whether that be the players, the parents, the administration, was against you? And as a leader, how did you handle that?
That's a pretty interesting thing. You know, I don't, you know, you kind of, I think it's almost like a narcissistic statement to say like, well, they're against you. You know, I think the thing about competition is people get really emotional about it
Sure.
at whatever level it is. And, you know, people hate losing. You know, I mean, I've always been at programs, so I laughed when I got here. They were like, are you ready for Friday nights? Are you going to be able to handle that? And I'm thinking to myself, look, you know, everywhere I've ever coached is a high achieving place that you know, people want to be successful, maybe different levels, but particularly, you know, at Brandon, it was a very results oriented place, and that people expected a lot of you. The community expected a lot of you. The football program demanded a lot of you, and all of our athletics were like that. And so you learn that, you know, that's, somebody may make a comment or the fans may, you know, but you have to remain focused on the people that are in your room, in your doors, that are in your organization at that point in time. You know, it's the old Dabo Sweeney. It's one of my favorite. I love that quote, but it's one of my favorite quotes where he says, "Never accept advice from somebody you wouldn't take criticism from." And so, never accept criticism from somebody that you wouldn't seek advice from. And that's a pretty, you know, like I've always thought about that whenever I think about, you know, unruly parents, unruly fans, you know, people getting upset about results is, hey, they're not there every day. They don't know the details of what happened. They don't know why it ended up the way it did. So just let it roll off your back. But to me, it's always been, if they want to get on me, I'm a grown man. I can handle that. But I always try to protect my kids from that and make them understand that, hey, I know they're going to give you a hug when you win, and they may, you know, scream at you when you lose, but at the end of the day, it's because they care. And so just remember that, keep it in perspective, and remember this is just a game.
Sure. That's great. Did you develop that thick skin over time, or is that something that just came natural for you?
I mean, I've never, I don't know. I've just never, I've never really worried about the opinions of other people.
Sure.
My wife is a different story now. She hasn't developed that quality yet. But no, I mean, I think it's one of those things that if you're comfortable in what you do, you know why you do it, you believe that you're doing it for the right reasons, then, I mean, man, people can say what they want to, and they can call you whatever they need to, but at the end of the day, you just keep marching forward. You know what I mean? Show up the next day and do it. So
a couple of your comments earlier about discipline and values and leadership and really inputting those into your players and on the athletic field. Looking at your resume, you seem to have won, quite frankly, early on. Do you attribute that to those disciplines, or the X's and O's, or a combination thereof, or your predecessors, or what in particular do you attribute that to?
I mean, I think it's always a combination of all that, right? I mean, it's very every place you go is very unique, and you have to really immerse yourself in the culture and have a really good understanding of the kids and get relationships with the kids in order to truly be successful. And so that's, you know, I think the a lot of the early success was being able to quickly establish belief. And I always tell people that, like, when you get to the belief stage, like when you get to the point where kids are starting to believe in what you're saying and believing in each other, you've really overcome a lot of the things that you have to get through to get there. Like, I mean, I go back to last Friday night. I mean, I don't really know that as a program we were quite, that we had the business of being out in front of that team and really playing
Sure.
from the front most of the second half. But the kids always believed we were going to win.
Right.
The only thing that we didn't have was the final end product to make it one play in the time we needed to make it.
Right.
But hey, it's like I told them this morning, maybe we just weren't quite ready for that yet. And that's a hard thing to say sometimes, but maybe we weren't quite ready to make that. But you have that feeling, you learn from it, you show back up to work, you pick yourself up, get up off the stool, and you keep fighting. You keep scrapping. And that's what, again, that's what athletics is supposed to teach us.
Right.
That we don't always get what we deserve. We don't always get what we want. We don't
Right.
always get the job. We don't always get the promotion. But we can get back up. We can go to work the next day and we can correct the things that made us not get that. We can correct the things that maybe we thought that when we deserved something, we can find a way to try to be a little better the next time around.
Absolutely. That belief is extremely important, and I'd like to hone in on that a little bit. But I'd love to give you a little bit of feedback. One of your players, who shall remain nameless, said that they genuinely believe that they could go out and beat that team last Friday, and this individual told me that came from your belief and being able to look you in the eye and be able to watch your body language and genuinely believe that. Do you think that comes also from some of the disciplines and some of the values that you're trying to instill in the team, or are there other things that go into really getting your players behind you and believing in the path that you're taking them?
I just don't think you can fake being genuine, and I don't think you can fake belief. You can sit there and tell a kid, I could go spend 3 hours today to have the best speech of all time and come up with it, say whatever I want to say, but you can't fake, and there's no replacement for being genuine with kids every day and instilling belief in them. If you look a kid in the eyes and you tell him that you believe him, but you're the way you move every day and your actions don't match that, well, then the kid knows you don't really believe in him. You know what I mean? But when you teach kids to fail, when you teach kids to work through adversity, when they see how you respond to that, when they see how you approach them during that, they start to believe that you are who you say you are, that you do believe them, and that, hey, he knows, I know I'm not going to be perfect every day, but I know how hard he's working on me to be a better person, to be a better player, and that's the guy I want to go play for. You know what I mean? And that's what, when you peel all the layers back and you're a coach, that's what you want to be at the end of the day. Is you want to be a guy that kids say, I'm glad I get to go play for that guy. You know
Absolutely.
And as a teammate, you want to be that guy. Somebody says, I want him on the field with me. I want him on the field at the end of the game.
Right. I love that. I listen to a leadership podcast that comes out monthly. And at the end, his tagline is, remember, people would always rather follow a leader who is real rather than right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you encapsulated in that response.
And it's funny because, again, we were talking this morning and that we did a little devotion, and it was talking about, think about the coach or the person in your life that had the most impact on you in a positive way, you're coaching. And I was saying to myself, I read that and I was thinking about, very rarely is that person impactful because of the results or what they did. Amen. That person's almost always impactful because of how they made you feel and what they poured into you. And I think when I was thinking about my person that I would say impacted me the most, I was like, it's really funny just thinking about that because it's not results oriented at all. It's not what they helped me do. It was how they made me feel. Yep. And I think that's just kind of an interesting concept with that belief factor is how do you make people feel? What do you make them believe they can do? Not what did they do? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because sometimes we don't get to that point where we are able to do it.
Right.
But if you believe you can do it and you keep trying hard long enough, you're going to find a way to.
Sure. I love that. Football can be an emotional game. So how have you as a leader held those emotions in check in the heat of the moment? Or is that something that you're still working on?
I think I'm pretty calm, cool, and collected. I'm not going to say I don't have to repent on Friday nights after the game sometimes because of the things that I say. I get pretty intense and pretty fired up and passionate about our guys, not as much about the officials or anything else.
Right.
But I think that part of my thing has always been just when all the chips are down, the kids look to the leader, right? Or they look to the leaders. A lot of times you hope that that's a player, but as a head football coach, a lot of times that's you, right? And so how are you responding in the toughest moments? What do you look like in the toughest moments? Do you still have that belief, or do they feel like your doubt's creeping in? And I think that's one of those things that, the more you coach, the more you do it, you realize that your demeanor. I used to always tell our assistant coaches the temperature of our sideline is directly related to how we act, not how the kids act.
Love it.
Because they feed off of you.
Love it. Yeah, so, absolutely. Coaching 80 to 100 14 to 18-year-old men can be difficult. Over the last 10 years with modern technology, have you had to adapt in that regard with some of this stuff, or has that been a non-issue for you?
I mean, I think the biggest thing that you see with kids these days, just I think, we're in an instant gratification society when you have a phone in your hand at all times, and we're all guilty of that. Like you can get answers now, you can do things now, you can get to things now. And I think what you kind of learn is like engagement is different, do things quicker, be super productive, try not to have a lot of downtime, because kids don't like that. They when they get bored, they go play a video game now. I mean, they don't really go outside. You know what I'm saying? They don't allow themselves to ever just be sitting. So a lot of times you have to kind of run what you do like that, right? Like you can't have much downtime, because the mental attention, the mental focus they have is very fleeting. And so you have to be real intentional with your engagement, how you teach them, how you coach them, because like I said, in a microwave society, it's tough, you know what I mean?
Sure. If you can, perhaps think back to a time that maybe was one of the first times you first recognized yourself as a leader, and maybe if you wouldn't mind sharing a few details about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll kind of go. The moment I always really talk about is I kind of like the moment I realized I wanted to coach. I was going to go into based off my degrees, I was going to go be a physical therapist. After I played football and had gotten everything done and was ready to roll, applying to PT schools, doing all that, and I ended up just kind of during camp one year, I'd gotten banged. Well, I had a freak injury. It was something really silly. I got my heel stepped on with somebody had a new pair of cleats cut clean through my tape, and I had to get 8 stitches on my Achilles.
Oh no!
And I couldn't go through camp, and so we had a kid who ended up playing in the NFL, Malcolm Johnson, and he was also injured. He's actually from Northridge, around Tuscaloosa. And so what ended up happening was they said, all right, you and Malcolm are going to work out every day. You can't be in the 1-5. Y'all are going to work out every day. You're going to take him to film every day and install stuff. And so I was basically I was just his mentor. Malcolm was a freshman. I was just his mentor. And so me and Malcolm spent a lot of time together, got to meet with him, got to, kind of talk to him a lot because he was banged up too and wanted to be in camp. And that was the first time where I really just had kind of a one-on-one interaction, coaching somebody. I'd been a captain before. I'd been on leadership committee and done some of those things, but just having that you would say that one-on-one personal connection with somebody for a 2-week period where you were grinding it out completely independent of anybody else. It made me realize how much growth you can see in people and how much you can push people when you really pour into it. Because I took it really seriously when they asked me to do that. So, and me and Malcolm obviously, grew pretty close as we were teammates after that. But that was kind of one of those moments that I can go back to that I was asked to do something. If you know me, I took it super serious. That dude in there, he was learning, and when we got done, it was kind of a gratifying thing to just kind of see his growth as he went.
He didn't know what hit him, how serious you took it.
No, we took it pretty serious. We got after it every day.
I love it. But out of disappointment came that opportunity that, quite frankly, was in hindsight, a big fork in the road that took you in a different life and career path.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's that old, Brian Kite, principle that we don't always control the events in life. We just control our response, you know what I mean? And the better we respond to things, the better off we are.
Absolutely. You alluded to this a little bit earlier in a prior question, but was there one person who had the most impact on your leadership style?
I mean, I always go back to, there was 2 people in my life, one obviously when I was younger and still today, and then one that, kind of as I was older and kind of learning how to lead. But obviously my father, from a young age was somebody I always looked up to and took a lot of things from. And he was such a hard worker. That was kind of one of the things that he always instilled in me, really indirectly a lot of times, because he didn't ever have to tell me how hard he worked. I got to see it every day. And, no matter how many hours he worked at, at his job, he'd come home, and if I wanted to do extra stuff, he never complained about it. He just got out there and, worked me athletically or whatever. And then when I got in college, my college strength coach, Matt Bayless, who was at Florida with Urban Meyer and then came to Mississippi State with Dan Mullen, was probably one of the most intense dudes I've ever been around. And but he just taught me how much you could really accomplish, even when sometimes you don't physically believe you can do it. You know what I mean? Just that your mind is so much more powerful than your body ever thought about being. And you know, when you put your mind to something, when you believe you can get through something with a group of guys, if you have that attacking mindset that you can do it, you'll be able to do anything. And we did some things that I don't know are physically possible for the body, but the mind was able to get us through it. You know what I mean? When the body couldn't anymore. So
I love it. I love it. Have you seen the Swamp Kings on Netflix?
Yeah, I have.
So you lived some of those workouts then
I not only lived them, I'm here to tell a story. We'd have to have about 5 more podcasts.
Yeah. Is that scene?
Yeah, well, it's as intense as it's depicted. It's
I love it. I love it. We're drawing to a close here. Is there one principle in leadership that stands out in your mind that's always true, no matter the circumstances?
I mean, I just think that there's no replacement for being a good person. You know what I mean? Your character follows you and it precedes you everywhere you go, and it'll follow you everywhere you go. So I think in leadership, a lot of times, you know, one of the principles that's hard to follow through is being a good person, being a man of high character. But if you can't do that, you have nothing. You know what I mean? You have absolutely nothing. And so that's something that no matter where I've been, no matter what I've done, no matter what people have, you know, said, about alluding back to the question earlier, just take the high road, be a person of high character, keep marching on. You know, people are always going to have an opinion of you, good, bad, or indifferent. But, you know, if you're in a position of leadership, your job is not to judge others. Your job is to show up and lead the troops every day.
Tell us your thoughts about legacy. What does that word legacy mean to you?
I mean, as a young guy who's, you know, been fortunate to be in a number of leadership positions and, even when people would look at you and go, why is this 24-year-old, you know, getting to do that? But I think legacy is something that, you know, a lot of times people want to be celebrated while they're on this world. But I mean, it's really one of those delayed gratification things. You know what I mean? I've never really worried about trophies and physical accolades and Hall of Fames and things like that. I just worry about showing up every day and pouring into other people and, you know, trying to leave the world better than I found it. I mean, I really just think that my calling in life has been to build other people up, be a positive leader, be a transformational person for, you know, the campuses I'm on and the communities I'm in. And I've always really thought that, you know, my legacy will take care of itself if that's my approach every day. And I've grown into that. I've tried to, you know, lean into it every day. I'm far from a perfect person.
Sure.
But I really do take it very seriously to show up every day and do a good job for the people around me and be a man of high character, and make sure that I'm giving each person everything that I've got and everything that they need, which is a hard thing sometimes.
Well, Coach, you've been very generous with your time, and I'm super grateful for that. And so this is Legacy and Leadership with David McKean and Coach Sam Williams. And if you're in and around the Mobile area, perhaps come check out a UMS-Wright Bulldogs game here in the near future where you can see that leadership in action on the field on Friday night. So thank you, and please like and subscribe and share this with your friends. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Legacy and Leadership with David McKean, and you're able to take away proven tactics that you can implement in your day-to-day life regarding legacy and leadership. If you have questions or ideas for future shows, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach me at 251-648-6461, or you can email me at legacyandleadershipgoal@gmail.com. Thanks so much for joining us.